Hello, compadres. How have we been? The first thing I see in chat is your mama, and I am not disappointed whatsoever. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone that is here. Yes, we have new ancient event. Yes, we will be going through all the ancient event tips. Yes, we'll be giving advice and everything else like we normally do during the start of these events, because, you know, especially for new players, they can be quite complicated. But what ancient do I want to get? I'm actually undecided, because since it's a wind ancient event, it's not actually going to be that useful for me. Honestly, I am not sure. Maybe we'll go for Pokra. Maybe we'll go Pokra. Because Pokra is only available for 2 weeks of this event, and that's going to be a big ask for a lot of people that are trying to go for Pokra. But Pokra does have those two really key elements for dungeons, so ooh, it's tough. It's going to be a tough choice for some. Your game is not opening. It happens. Try again, Karen. I'm glad that the tips help. Hello, Ducky. Hello, Carlo. Hello, Shat. Hello, Willow. Everyone's saying hello suddenly. Your game doesn't have the update, and that's unfortunate. But yes, I thought I would start this up a little bit early today, and rather than waiting the whole full half an hour, we'll probably jump in like a couple of minutes. But yeah, I'm not 100% decided on exactly what I want to go for in this event. But of course, if you do have any questions or anything you don't understand while we're going through this today, feel free to let me know. That way, hopefully it can help more than just you, maybe help more people at the same time. Hello, Mike, you were here earlier. You're already in the event, indeed. I imagine people that were really eager are probably already logged in, done most of their reset stuff. That's the reason why I timed this one a little bit later than usual. You just got palette, lovely. Hello, Jonathan. When was the last time there was a Sugar Rush clan event? It's been a while, hasn't it? There's only 2 ancients. It'll change which dragons are in the altar. At least Pokra and Lozra will be changing it at a certain point. That would be the 2-week mark, after the first 2 weeks are over. Why did I want 1,000 gems? Because usually for these events, it costs me about 1,000 gems of dungeon resetting to get all the dragons that I want. That's the reason why I want 1,000 gems. Now, it depends on how your team is and what you can achieve in game as to how many gems you would need for an event. What sigil do I most dislike? Mirror, because it's useless. It's useless, but could be annoying if the sigils were actually balanced. How will you get Fovan? We'll be going through all of that now. I'm going to open up my DML game now. And we are going to be getting this bad boy ready. Ready to go. Prepare yourselves, for this event is beginning today, and it's probably going to take a lot of, you know, a lot of logging in, a lot of grinding, all of that good stuff, because of course these events have lots of different parts. Before I do anything, I am going to enable my VIP, because I do like getting my bonuses for VIP and such. Do you think you can get any ancient at only level 40? Yes! Yes, I do! How to breed sunflower. You can find that on the DML Planner website. If you ever want to know how to breed anything, go onto the DML Planner website and literally just do reverse breed sunflower. You can find out in like 2 seconds what the best combos are. It's great. It's great. You don't need to ask me or wait for anyone else to answer. DML Planner does it for you. But anyway, before we get to anything else, let us start off with this actual event now that we have opened the game. We have the Dragon Board event, which is the major event for this game. And that is one of the main things you'll be logging in for. But at the same time, you'll also need to be finishing off the mini events during this time, like the Boss Challenge event, because otherwise you're not going to get as many tickets as you need. But we also have the Venchu Rising Collection, and of course Venchu is the major reward dragon for this event because he is the Ancient Divine and Wind Dragon, which does mean he has super boosted stats. So even though Wind's not too useful, all things considered, his Ancient and Bless is definitely very strong. And then the other ancients that we got in this event, of course, are Fovan, which is going to be the Dragon Board reward dragon. Then we've got Nullvind, who is in the Ancient Altar. And then we've also got Halmy, who's in the Ancient Altar. Halmy's cute. I like Halmy. Anyone else like Halmy? Anyway, first things first, I think we're going to take a look at that Dragon Board event. I do quickly want to mention that we do also have the Desolation Station collection that you can finish off to get your hands on the Legendary Wasteland. I don't need it. I'm not going to bother, but you will need Swift Pixie to finish off that collection. So anyway, let's jump into the Dragon Board event. So rather than us having like 8 dragons up top, now we've only got 2 of them because the Epic Reward Dragon instead is now in a different place with silver horns and everything like that. The quests at the bottom are the same as always, as in we'll have to collect gold, collect food, breed dragons, feed dragons, win battles, and catch creatures. And we'll use our currency to go along on this new board. You'll see that there's purple tiles, blue tiles, yellow tiles. And the first major tip I'm going to give you for anyone that's new to this is that if you want Fovan, you need to be hitting pretty much or getting a chest opened at every single green tile. There's no bingo anymore, so this is actually probably going to be a lot easier than it used to be. But if you want Fovan, you really cannot afford to be going past green tiles without actually getting a purple chest. We also have milestone rewards related to the Dragon Board event based on how much currency you spent through the whole event. There is a free section and a paid section, of course, because why would we not have a paid-only section every event? You can buy the shrine for it, which is £3. I'm not going to buy it because I don't really care enough about it, but all things considered, you should still be trying to hit as many currency spent as possible so that you can get as many rewards as you can. There is also a free Sacred Apple this time at 269,000 score, so good luck. Let's hope that we can all get up to that one. But we'll be doing this Dragon Board stuff in a second, because first we're going to collect all of the currency that we need for these quests. But even before that, we have Dungeon. And Dungeon is really, really important during these events because every single time you open up a chest, you'll be able to get bonus tickets. And the tickets are very, very important. So before we do anything else, we are going to quickly do a couple of dungeons just to reset this timer. So now I can leave and it will say that our next reset is in 15 minutes. So it looks like they've actually nerfed the dungeon, which is not okay, Gameloft. But we can continue that dungeon run in a second. But now we need to collect all that currency for those quests. So collecting gold's pretty simple, as most of you probably know. There we go, it's all collected. We've got the catching creatures, which they'll just fly around the islands. They're pretty simple. Then we do have collecting food. Generally, I like to keep the 6-hour food in the farms because then you can keep in time with the event resets. So I'm just going to pop in the squarey berries there. The most annoying one is not going to be the feeding, it's going to be the breeding quest. Should you spend gems on this dungeon, we will take a look at all of that dungeon stuff in a moment. But the feeding quest, all that you need to do is level up a low-level dragon. So like this lava dragon that we just hatched, get the currency, sell it, there you go, bada boom, do that every reset. But normally it's the breeding one that's the most annoying. And there is a combination that you can use to guarantee the points during the entire month, and that's going to be the War Dragon combination. So rather than us doing this breed for that, which we do not want, we're going to pop in a Fire and Metal Dragon. And when we breed these two bad boys together, we're going to get a War Dragon. That's going to give us 200 points, and pretty much we're going to be breeding that every single reset for the entire month. So that's going to be fun. No new breeding for us, right? Hello, Neha. Hello, Neha. So, now that we've done those quests, the only ones that we have left to do are a couple more catching creatures and winning battles, and then we can get into the actual brunt of this event. So remember, make sure you are finishing off every single task first before you spend anything. The reason for that being that when you finish all 6 tasks, you'll unlock a bonus action, and that allows you to get more currency. So before you spend anything in this event, make sure you get your tasks done first and then go to the board. That should be your priority for every single reset. So if you don't do that, you may end up finding out that you can't actually finish the quest because you don't have enough currency. And that would be both slightly funny, but also not for you. It would just be funny for everyone else that saw it. And you don't want to be the brunt of the joke, surely. Is it okay to breed tree dragons instead of war dragons? It is indeed if you somehow don't have metal unlocked, or you don't have, I guess, metal dragon available, which would be kind of ridiculous, but you can also breed tree dragons as well. So yeah, either tree or wars, anything that gives those 200 points and has less than a 6-hour breeding time is fine. So that is all of those quests done, and you'll see that now that I've done all 6 of the quests for the Dragon Board event, now we have a new task, which is roll 1 double in the Dragon Board event. And this is actually one of the worst ones to get, because this is an RNG quest, because there's no guarantee that we're going to roll a double in this event. Every time you roll, there's a chance of you getting 2 dice that have the same number. But there's no guarantee. Obviously, we want to get as many doubles as possible because it also adds to our double trouble meter, which is an entire other section of these events. And the final reward for double troubles is going to be Oira, which is another ancient. And so lots of people are going to want to get their handsies on Oira, right? But we just have to leave it in the hands of RNG. Since we do want to go for Fovan still, I do want to re-roll somewhat to still hit these purple tiles. And we did get the roll that I wanted, which was a 6. Because when you roll a 6 and you land on a tile, you'll get double the keys for that tile. So it's really, really important that you do actually try and go for that. How do you get more food? Because the EFT is useless. Mainly from the map and farms. That's the main thing. So, this is kind of unfortunate because this means that we're going to land on another 6 on the green tile, but I'm going to go for it anyway. Doesn't really matter too much as long as we're hitting this purple. And when we hit the green tiles, you will get a key again. And so this is going to be our first purple chest open of this event. And in it, we get 1 extraordinary mat and we get 1 singular piece of Fovan, the Fire Wind Ancient. And after you open up 220 of these purple chests, you are guaranteed to get your hands on that ancient. So that is the ideal thing that you want to do. But we did get our bonus quest complete, which is fantastic. And we got our first Double Trouble battle unlocked. So let's go and do our first Chapter 1 battle to try and make some progress towards Oira. So I can't look. Aya, tell me, is it 1,000 times more awful than the Land of the Shadow Ancients? Kronos is just toying with me at this point. Wow. Oh, it's horrible, isn't it? Just give it to me straight. I can't take it. But just barely. Ned, open your eyes, silly. It's beautiful up here. Up? Whoa. You two, you're gawking in the middle of my flight path. Why is it covering the text? Why are you covering up the text box, ladybug? That's uncool. Did you miss anything? We've just started off with the event. We're doing our first Double Trouble battle of this event, and honestly, they can be quite difficult, these Double Trouble battles, so I hope you have dragons available to do each of these, because they are element restricted, or they have been before, so let's hope that they're not too difficult in the end. But that is the very first battle for Double Trouble complete, and so now we've got Chapter 2 to do. So now we need to get another singular double, then we'll have to finish the Chapter 2 fight, we'll get a ticket, and overall, there are all of these chapters to have to complete in order to unlock this ancient. Now, one thing that you'll have to decide at the beginning of this event, which is very, very important for everyone, is whether you want to go for Oira or whether you want to go for Fovan. Because these two dragons have essentially very opposing earning methods, I suppose you could say. Because Fovan, you'll need to open as many chests on the board as possible, which might require some re-rolling at those green tiles. Oira, however, is a dragon where, because it's down to roll RNG, you may actually end up being better off just not re-rolling at all. If you want to go for both, then I think you're better off going for those purple tiles. If you just exclusively want to try and get Oira, then never ever reset for the whole event. Give up on Fovan, and that's how you would do that. But do remember that if you do choose to do that, that means that you will not be getting Venchu. So is it really worth going for Oira and missing out on Venchu? That's something that you gotta decide early on, and the earlier you decide it, the better off you're gonna be. I'm gonna go for Fovan and then hopefully get enough doubles for Oira in the end, but may not work out like that, so we'll have to see what happens. So that is the Dragon Board event itself. I don't want to spend any more currency because there's no real reason to waste my currency at this point. I would probably be re-rolling for this purple tile unless I want to go for another 6 on this green checkpoint, but there's no reason for me to waste my currency. I'm going to mostly save up so that I can do the bonus quests without any worries, so I'll probably save up to about 10,000 and then stop worrying about it so much. Carlo, why do you want to shout out? Pay-to-win players will probably get all of them. Well, sure, if you pay a lot of money, you can get everything in this game, but this is designed for people that don't want to spend money or don't want to spend a lot of money. Like, if you've got nearly 1,000 gems, there are things that you can do in this event, whether you collected those by purchasing a clam or whether just collecting them in-game. You do have a good shot at these events. But now we need to get into the boss challenge event itself also, because this boss challenge event will be giving us bonus tickets, and we need these tickets because we need to go and collect some holy talismans, which we will be doing in a second. So Hogwin is here saying, where have we found ourselves this time? It appears to be the Golden Pyramid or someplace like it. Really? This does not look like a pyramid. Must be one of those space timers, Professor. I bet we'll run into some fierce dragons here. We better be ready for battle. And perhaps we'll find out where Ned and Eliza have run off to. So odd for those two to have anything to do with one another. I get the feeling they're doing something really important. I hope they save some world-changing conflict for us. Like, really? Does this look like a pyramid? This looks like a Zen garden. What? Okay, I'm not gonna question that one. Carlo, I just did. I'm not gonna stop spamming or I will just have to ban you from the chat. But this is boss challenge. We've seen this many times, but the main thing about this boss challenge, of course, as you've already noticed, is that we have a new dragon in it, which is Lao Hu. And Lao Hu here is, of course, a brand new dragon, very tigerish. And we can get this dragon by finishing off 4 rounds of the boss challenge event. And boss challenge events are very simple, except we've got all of the elements in the game that we can use in the first sort of couple of rounds generally, but as we go further on, these battles will become more elementally restricted, which does make them difficult in that sense, because if you don't have a full team of evenly leveled dragons with lots of different elements, you may run into battles that you can't complete. For now, we're going to be fine, but it is something to be aware of when you are doing these boss challenge events. But you'll see that when you finish a battle, there will be a short cooldown, and then you'll have to come back in this case, just over 30 seconds, come back, do it again. Generally, these do cap out at a 2-hour timer, so you'll be coming back every 2 hours minimum to the game, which can be very, very strenuous, very demanding event. But if you want that new dragon and you want as many tickets as you can, this is the place to get some bonus ones. You got kicked out of the game because it's so laggy. It happens when we've got new events, you know, as much as they try and fix the servers and everything. APA server in particular is a really, really bad server to be playing on. Not because, like, there's any issue with APA, but because the server itself just doesn't work. It just breaks all the time. I'm so sorry to APA players that think that they can, like, open up their server or their game and actually expect it to work. It never works. Well, it might work for like 50% of the day. You just unlocked Kronos. Nice animated. That's fantastic. But yes, there's our second battle. And again, this one has a 2-minute timer. So we'll come back in 2 minutes 30, do that one. And it's just rinse and repeat with the boss challenge event. It's a very demanding event. Come back when the battles are finished. And that's all that you can really do with this event. But you can get bonus tickets from that. Now, the other part that we haven't really looked at is all of this stuff related to the island itself. So when we open it up, we do get 10 free tickets, which is not very generous, but it's better than nothing. And this is where we can see the altar, we can see the ancient chests and all of this stuff, which is the other major part of this event, because we've got the dragon board, which is more or less the main part of the event, but then the altar also has a lot of dragons in it. So this is where we start choosing which dragons we want to collect. And as you can see, we've got Haumi, that new ancient, and Nolvind, the new wind ancient, but we also have Pokra, and Pokra is on the left, and there's only 14 days where you can collect Pokra, which does mean that Pokra is going to be one of the most difficult ancients to get out of this event, probably excluding Venchu. But luckily for a lot of us that were here during the original Pokra event, we probably got some pieces for Pokra already. And that's the reason why I want to go for Pokra, because it's going to be the cheapest out of all of them for me to get. But when we do click get pieces, it is going to cost 1,500 holy talismans per dragon total, which does make them more expensive than during the divine events, which does make the ancient events more difficult overall. So that is something to be aware of. But for instance, with Pokra, I just need 579 pieces to finish off Pokra, so I'm probably going to do it sooner rather than later. So that's nice. Nulvin and Helmi have the same stats. I mean, Helmi's a wind plant and Nulvin's a wind void, so for most players, they're not really going to help their team. It's mainly just going to be for the collection or just because they like the look of them. I wouldn't really recommend either of these dragons to be used in a team. Pokra, however, can be an incredibly useful dragon because if you really need a shield, it's got a shield. If you really need fire, it's got fire. And if you really need ancient, it's got ancient. Now, I wouldn't put it in a team as the sole dragon that's in charge of using all three of these elements, because otherwise it'll have too many roles to fill and you won't be able to both use AoE and Earth. But if you had another AoE user or another Earth user along with Pokra, Pokra can be a really solid team member overall. Good luck to you too. Good luck to everyone. What was the breeding combination for 200 currency? It is fire plus metal or earth plus plant. That is the combination. If you want to get the 200 points guaranteed every reset, which you need to in this event, use fire plus metal. It's the easiest one to pick. But coming back to here, like I said, we got that ancient altar. I will be going for Pokra, I think, is my main concern. But at the same time, we will need Nulvind and Helmi as well, which means we're going to have to do a lot of grinding if we want to get all of these dragons, which is going to be a lot of grinding. A lot of grinding. The other thing we haven't actually taken a look at yet is this section, which is the shop that's full of silver horns. You see, in this shop, we've got a selection of different things, and some actually really useful things, along with just some decorations. So I guess now the only time you'd be getting decorations is if you really, really wanted them. I don't know, this tropical husk looks kind of like a weird crab claw thing. I don't know, it creeps me out. But either way, we do have quite a lot of relics to purchase. We've got VIP tickets, premium sigil chests. This is a really good one to have in here. Extra dem relics, double egg relics. And then we've also got Greener Gate the dragon. We've got the brand new Swift Pixie dragon. And we have enchantment tickets. So there's a lot of good stuff in this silver horn shop. Honestly, I have to say that the dragons are probably still going to be the main drive, but premium sigil chests for 80 silver horns sounds like a really good deal to me. Like, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a really good deal to me. But we can get these through hitting tiles in the Dragon Board event that aren't purple. So this is something where if you're going for Fovan, you're probably not going to get as much in terms of these in the end as other people that are just, you know, freely going for rolls for Oira. That's something else to keep in mind. But if you want Venchu, you're going to have Fovan. So it is what it is. So I guess without further ado, we'll actually open up a couple of chests here that we've got for free. And just see what we actually get out of them for our first 11 opens. I do like the colour of these chests a lot. Kind of looks like a primal chest. Am I the only one that thinks that? APA servers are down. I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. Like, these are a really nice colour. Really nice colour. Yeah, if you're playing on EUR, you're probably fine like me. On APA, the servers are probably down at the moment because they always go down. They always go down. But, yeah, in these chests, when we open them up, you've got a chance of getting a 5-drop, a 3-drop, a 1-drop, and I believe it's still a times 50 drop out of these chests. So it's just like the Shadow Ancient event that we just had not long ago. But you need to collect these Holy Talismans so that we can purchase pieces for the Ancient Dragons, and also we'll get pieces for one of the rares, one of the epics, and we'll also get things like VIP tickets. If you're lucky, you might get some decorations out of this as well. But overall, you're gonna have to open up lots and lots and lots of chests. I mean lots of chests if you want to have a good shot at getting all of the ancients. So, for example, there we just got 29 holy talismans. But rather than us just spending them straight away, which we could, what I highly suggest for you to do is save up enough holy talismans to at least fully purchase a dragon before you spend them. Because what's going to happen, say you decide that you're going to buy Nullwind, and say you put in all of your holy talismans, and you get to like 250 pieces, and then you work out, actually, I want to get Lozra, not Nullwind. Well, then you've just wasted 250 pieces worth, or 250 pieces in terms of holy talismans worth for the dragon. So, I highly recommend that you just save up your holy talismans until you can fully purchase a dragon. So I'd be fully saving up until I could get enough for Pokra, for example, and then purchasing it. Just don't waste them until you are absolutely sure that you can get the dragon. That is, you still want to use them before the end of the event, but just don't waste. You know, I can say it a million times, some people are probably still going to do it, but it's really important that you do not waste your resources during these events. But anyway, I'm assuming that the boss challenge has its battle ready, which it does. Very nice. Primal dragons? Yes, we do have primal dragons in the game now. We don't actually have any of them available to collect, I don't believe, but primal dragons are a thing. We do have primal enchantment materials being given in the arena. So we will have primal dragons coming. Okay, it looks like someone wants to be permabanned from the channel. It's very, very unfortunate, but, you know, if you spam the chat, I will be permabanning you. It is what it is. We don't want people spamming the chat. So, either way, just be aware that if you spam chats or cause problems, that is what's going to have to happen. But, anyway, coming back to the event itself, the first thing that I did along with Dragon Board was Dungeon, and we are indeed going to continue with our dungeon right now. I cannot stress enough how important dungeon is during these events. And now for the first, say, 3 or 4 rounds of dungeon, you could predominantly just focus on getting KOs so that you can boost your KO bonuses. But I think it's still important to at least check which quests you have and see if there's any that are easy to complete and try and get those done. If you have more than 3 main team members, then you'll have an advantage in the dungeon. But if you're someone like me that's only got really 3 main dragons, then hopefully your 3 main dragons are strong enough to do well. But it looks like this is going to be a fire dungeon week. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Is this a fire dungeon week? Because if this is a fire dungeon week, then just like with the other event, it's going to be one of the main weeks to actually go ahead and try and get as many holy talismans as possible. So when you are looking at dungeon weeks, it's important to know which set of dungeon dragons it is that you're facing. And if you ever want to know which dungeon, I guess, reset or dungeon pool you're actually dealing with, you can see this all on the DML wiki. So if I open up the wiki here and we go to dungeon, we'll go to dungeon and then we will scroll down to the bottom. And then it will show us which pool is which. And basically we can work out which pool you're on based on the dragons that you faced at the beginning of that week. So like right now, who have we got? We've got Pig, we've got Mr. Mentor, and we have Mr. Sandcastle. So all that you'd need to do is go back, check which dragons are coming up during that time frame, and then you'll know which dungeon rotation that you're actually on, or dungeon pool that you're on, I should say. Because it shows you all the dragons up to dragon number 104. So realistically, you know every single dragon that's going to be coming up in every single dungeon pool. This is a really, really important thing to understand when you are picking which dungeon rotation that you actually are looking to do. So we've got a few different weeks. All of the energy and void ones are bad. All the energy and void weeks are bad weeks, and realistically you don't want to be spending gems on those weeks if you can help it. You might still do it anyway, depending on how many gems you have, but for example, during the fire weeks, those are the really good ones. Those are the good ones. Mainly because if you have a shielder, then a lot of the times they can't really do anything to you. It's working for you on APA. I hope that APA does start working, because, you know, otherwise you're probably going to have a bad time. But generally with APA, it tends to be around the reset times. So, you know, every 6 hours that it tends to go down. I'm not sure if it's because they're seeing an influx of players or whatever else is happening, but that tends to be when things go wrong on APA. Will there be a 3-headed dragon? Who knows? Who knows? Easy to get horns? Well, it depends on what you're going for. If you're actually exclusively going for those purple tiles and just hitting any blue tiles and anything else on your way there, you're not going to be getting that many horns, all things considered. The world, if APA wasn't crashing every second, perfection. I don't know. I don't think it's ever going to work out for APA, I'm afraid. But on cam, no. I do what I want. I do what I want. But like I was saying, I really cannot stress how important dungeon is, and to have a good team prepared before you actually deal with the dungeon weeks. Because along with those events like boss challenge and that are going to come, they're not going to give you a huge amount of tickets, because they just don't. So dungeon is the only real way to guarantee that you're going to get enough tickets to get a dragon. So every 6 hours, or whenever the dungeon rotation is done, depending on, you know, whether it's reset 1, reset 2, reset 3, you need to be doing every single dungeon reset that you possibly can every single day. It's so important to be good and do well in the dungeon if you want to see good success during ancient and divine events. I've been through it loads of times. I've got a video dedicated on how to make a good dungeon team and all of that. We link it in the Discord server all the time. But if you haven't prepared for this and prepared for the dungeon, you may have a bad time. Is it actually not? Is this a plant dungeon week? I think I got myself screwed over by looking at those first fire dragons. And this is what I mean. That's why looking at those actual dungeon pools on the wiki can tell you exactly which week it is. I didn't pay much attention because I just wanted to see what other dragons we'd be coming up against first. But look out for a fire dungeon if one does come up. Fire dungeons are great. You're the most unluckiest with all ancient events. My luck in general in DML when it comes to major events is pretty poor. It has been for a long time. I think the last couple of events have been okay, but generally speaking, my luck with DML events has not been good. This chat's full of lucky guys and girls. I don't know about that. Let's see how the Game Loft gods look down upon us, shall we? See how our luck goes through the week. We may have terrible luck, you never know. What dragon should you breed for the dice event? If you want to get those guaranteed 200 points, breed fire and metal or plant plus earth. That's how you get the 200 guaranteed points every single reset. And you need to be getting every single point for every single reset in order to unlock that bonus quest. It's very, very important. What is the best ancient to go for in this event? It depends on what you need to go for your team. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't really recommend Halmy or Nulvind for a team, but at the same time, we've got Pokra available. But the thing about Pokra is that because Pokra is only available for the first 2 weeks of the event, it means that you need to collect enough currency before the first 2 weeks are over. So for brand new players or players that don't really understand how the event works, asking them to try and go for Pokra is probably going to be a huge ask. And by that I mean a lot of them will probably fail. So if you wanted a safe pick, your safest thing or your safest pick would be to probably go for either Fovan, the board ancient, or Oira. And any dragon that you get as a bonus from the altar is just that, an extra bonus. That's only for brand new players that don't have any ancients or divines, for example. Now, if you are someone that needs a very specific element for their team, so if you need water, then there is Oira available in Double Trouble. If you really need earth, Pokra, again, is a choice that you can go for. And again, if you need fire, you can either go with Fovan or Pokra. So it completely depends on what you need for your team. That is the main thing. Don't just pick a dragon because someone else picked it. Pick a dragon that you actually need and will find use out of in your team. Just luck? It's not really luck. These events, because all of the massive big drops have been taken away, it's not really about luck at all anymore. It's about saving your resources and grinding at the best times. That's the main thing that it's about. Focus on one ancient and you can get it. Essentially, yes. So that's why I pre-warned at the beginning. If you're going for... Well, you need to really decide whether you're going for Oira or Fovan. If you go for Oira, the problem is that your chances of getting venchu are pretty much non-existent at that point. Is Pokra good? Pokra has the elements that a lot of people need for their team, which makes Pokra useful. But again, if you don't need fire or earth, then maybe don't worry about Pokra. It depends. If you need an ancient, Pokra's got basically 3 really useful elements, but it's not going to be the ideal for every single player. What is more powerful, Nullvind or Pokra? Well, we could look at base stats, but the main thing about these ancients is how they actually fit into a team. And again, with these ancients, Nullvind doesn't really have super useful elements. Like, Nullvind has Ancient Wind and Void, which none of those elements, apart from Ancient, are really useful, say, in the dungeon. I mean, Wind can have some uses, but compared to Fire and Earth, it's not really anywhere near as good. So, most people will probably end up finding more use out of Pokra, but it can be very, very situationally specific. Do all the tests of Dragon Board if you do. Yeah, if you're going for the Dragon Board dragon, you have to be doing every single quest. You have to. And what did we get up to? Because this is our first dungeon rotation. What did we get up to? Did we get up to 45 KOs in the first round? Isn't too bad. That'll help with our KO bonus. And now that we've done that, we can restart. And we start a new dungeon roll. Woo! Dungeon! It's just endless dungeon. And that's what these events really feel like. It's just endless amounts of dungeoneering, dungeon grinding. It's just endless. Pokra? Yeah, Pokra is time sensitive in that sense because, again, Pokra is a dragon that you can only get in the first 2 weeks of the event. Whereas Nullvind and Halmy, they're available throughout the entirety of the event, so the entire month. But then we will be getting Luzra coming into the shop in the final 2 weeks of the event as well. So, again, you gotta decide which dragon you need. If you don't decide now, you're probably never gonna decide and you might end up getting nothing that you need. So, start making your plans now. Start making your preparations now. Get into the dungeon. Do your boss challenge battles. And just start grinding. That's what it is. It's just grind time. Just like we did during the Shadow Ancient event, just like we did during the previous Divine event. It's basically exactly the same, just with different dragons. And now we got those silver horns instead, but that's not a massive change. Why don't you finish your battles till your dragons die? Because the other dragons that I've got are lower level dragons, and technically I could do some quests with them. But at the same time, because my dungeon refresh timer had already hit 0, I wanted to start off with a new dungeon reset as soon as possible. You hardly get 1,000 stepping stones. It depends on the dungeon week. Like, some dungeon weeks may just be really, really bad for your team, and other dungeon weeks may be really good for your team. So if you find that you have a dungeon week, or a dungeon pool week, and you're doing really, really well, like you're getting lots of stepping stones, maybe you're getting 2,000 plus every reset, maybe 1.5k plus, it might be worth you spending your gems to just do as many dungeon resets as you can during that specific week. Now, if you don't want to spend any gems during this event, you'll probably struggle to get pretty much anything of value, but, you know, some people don't like to spend their gems on anything apart from, like, outright hatchery upgrades and things, but this is just my pre-warning. that during these events, usually I have to spend up to about 1,000 gems per event. So that's why I always say I want to get up to 1,000 gems before the event starts so that I can have the best chance possible. Not everyone's going to have to do that, but that's just how it is for me and my team generally. Is Luzra better than Ikez? I would say for dungeon, no, because even though Luzra has light, which is the better AoE, the thing is, light isn't as good for doing dungeon quests, mainly the weak attack quests, because there's weak attack quests that come up in the dungeon, and those are the ones that fire is really good for. So if we got like 2 quests that were related to doing weak attack quests, for example, then we could just use fire and get that done really, really quickly, for example. Whereas you can't really do that with light. You've saved 370 gems. 370 is not really very much. Just like how 626, it's kind of middling. It's like mid-ground. It's not that many, all things considered. But, you know, it's better than us having 0. Before these events start, realistically, it's in your best interest to prepare as best as you possibly can, and by that I mean get as many gems as you can saved up. You know, make sure that all of your farms are ready, make sure that your breeding den's ready for the first resets, all of that sort of prep work that goes into it. But ultimately, the main thing about being successful in these events is going to be how often you actually log in and do all of the in-game stuff. If you're not logging in every single reset, as in every 6 hours, you're probably not going to get that board ancient. Because I've had events before where I've missed, I think it's 2 days worth of resets, so 8 resets in the entire month, and not gotten the board ancient. It's a little bit nicer now because of 220 guaranteed chests, but there have been really, really bad spells where that wasn't the case. You are Vietnamese? Happy to have the Vietnamese players in here. Dazzling Aura or Healing Light? It depends. There are some very, very gimmicky dungeon teams that make use of Healing Light, but on average the Dazzle is stronger. So I would normally say Dazzle. Take the Dazzle. How many stepping stones per reset you need at least to get a single ancient from the altar? It depends on how many times you actually redo the dungeon, because again, that could depend on how many times you gem the dungeon. Are you asking like from a free-to-play perspective, like not spending any gems whatsoever, like true free-to-play? Or are you asking like how many would you need if you spent, say, 500 gems? Because generally speaking, before you should even consider using gems on the dungeon, you should be getting at very minimum at least 1,000 stepping stones per run. And that's after, like, say, the 3rd or 4th dungeon round. Because the first few ones, again, you can just focus on doing KO bonuses. But if you're not making at least 1,000 every run, I would not be someone that would consider gemming dungeon runs. Now, if you are making over 1,000, realistically, you want to try and maximize that to as many as possible per round, because, you know, more stepping stones per round, the better off you're going to be, right? So, I think, realistically, I would say 1.3k plus is the true ideal before you should start doing that, but it does depend on the dungeon rotation, depends on your team, and plus it depends on how active you're going to be, because you don't want to gem and then be inactive the entire final week of the event, and then you don't get anything anyway. Then you'll have just wasted your gems, right? Did you clock up your hatchery with dragons? No, not completely, because again, you still need to be doing that breeding quest for the dragon board. No matter how important divines are, if you're not hitting every single reset 100% and getting all of the quests done, you're not going to be able to get Foban. You think you can't get Pokra free to play? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because remember, free-to-play doesn't mean never using gems, because free-to-play players can collect gems. For instance, I haven't bought the clam or anything, and I'm up to 600. I didn't get MVP or anything like that, so I I collected these gems naturally by playing the game. And if you're free to play, all that you need to do is just be very, very picky as to when you're actually going to spend your gems. Save up, and then if you've got a decent dungeon team, spend them during these major events. It's good to use Dragon Fury in dungeon. You not complete any quest with it. I mean, the problem with Dragon Fury is that when you use the Wander Acceptance Sigils, which, why would you not be, it doesn't really do any damage. It's not really very useful. It can have some slight uses if you're trying to do, like, defeat 2 dragons at once or defeat 3 dragons at once. That is one of the cases in which it can be useful. But otherwise, Dragon Fury in dungeon these days with sigils is kind of kind of meaningless. Is it possible to get an ancient at level 31? It is, yes. It's possible for anyone to get an ancient. It just depends on how well you've prepared, basically how good of a team you have for the dungeon, things like that. You can get Lazarus without spending any gems. You can. The thing is Lazarus going to be the only dragon you go for the entire event? Because it's definitely possible then. But if you were trying to go for, like, both of the altered dragons and Lazarus, I don't think that's going to be doable. Like, not at all. Any tips on getting Oira? If you really only want to get Oira and don't care about Venchu or the other ancients, just do not ever, re-roll the dice. Every single bit of currency that you earn for the Dragon Board event, just spend it without re-rolling, ever. That gives you the best shot you can. You cannot guarantee that you're going to get enough doubles for Oira, but that's the best thing that you can do. That's as close as you're going to get. You just hit 100 dragons? Nice. Fighting so long? Well, that's good. If you're in the dungeon, the longer your run lasts and the more quests that you get done, that's a good thing. So you might be wasting, or it might feel like you're wasting a lot of time, but, you know, the more KOs you can get, the more actual tasks you can get completed, you know, the better it's going to be. So yeah, it looks like this is actually going to end up as that shadow dungeon pool, which is going to be kind of iffy. At least there's a few shadow dragons in this mid-section here, which is kind of But I kind of wanted this to end soon anyway, so that I could see what the next dungeon time is going to be. You know, we did most of what we could. We could have gotten probably a couple more quests done, but it's fine. Let's watch all of our dragons die quickly. Death. Death to all. And now, when we go in here, we got 48 KOs, that's fine for a second round. And then we're going to get a refresh in 49 minutes. So I guess it goes 15 minutes an hour now, which is definitely a nerf on the dungeon. But this is the main part of it, doing dungeon runs and then opening chests, because every single chest you open up, you're going to see that you can get tickets. Pretty much, you should always be taking the tickets. The only exception would be if you see a gem count that's above, like, I would say 50. For me, because I can usually get enough currency to compensate, 35 plus for some people is enough. But if you're going to see 50 gems as a, like, option, it's probably better to take that usually. But that does depend on how much grinding you're willing to do in the dungeon, how good your team is, blah blah blah. But in my case, it would probably be 35 plus, is something that I'd be considering or worth considering. You have 717 gems you'll use to get Oira and Fovan. Well, good luck. If you're going for both of them, then just try and re-roll to hit those purple chests, or the purple tiles to get purple chests, as much as you can. And maybe if you manage to get Fovan nice and early, maybe you get some big drops, then you'll be able to just not re-roll later on for Oira, get the double troubles done, all that sort of thing. But, you know, if you want to go for Fovan, you have to be hitting the purple tiles. Like, I cannot stress enough how important dungeon and purple tiles are during this event. There we go, 50 gems! Nice! This is a situation where, because if I spent the dungeon reset and gem amount, I could get more than this back, so that's why I'm going to take 50. That's a nice pickup. And then we can go and do more dungeon runs with that later on. So that's why I'm going to take that. So that is the dungeon portion. It is very, very important that you are doing dungeon as much as you can every single day. I'll say it a million times, and I'll say it a million times more, because dungeon is one of the key parts of doing this event. Also, doing every single Dragon Board reset, and also doing everything that you can in those mini events that come up as well. How many Windstone do you think is needed to get both Fovan and Oira? That's going to be completely dependent on your drops. Unfortunately, there's no, like, this is how many it's going to take, because it depends on the drops that you actually get for Fovan when you open the chest, because you've got a chance of getting some pieces, a singular piece, or more pieces when you open those purple chests in the Dragon Board. So, like, I opened a purple chest, I got one piece for Fovan, for example, and the even bigger problem is that you are never guaranteed any drops for Oira. Now, they do apparently have that trade-offer button, although I don't see it. I don't see the trade-offer button, so maybe we have to get up to a certain amount of currency before we can use that. But maybe when you finish Fovan, that could be useful for just guaranteeing double troubles, but until that point, there's no way to say for sure. Hello, Red. You have 945 gems. What is the best option to get Ancient? Dungeon. If you're gonna spend your gems on anything, the best place to spend it during these events would be the dungeon, during the best dungeon rotation for your team. Now, again, if you're not getting at least an absolute minimum of 1,000 stepping stones per run, don't even consider doing that. But that is how people get all of these reward dragons. Like, from the altar, the way that people get 2, 3, 4 dragons from the altar is by doing dungeon runs over and over and over again. So that's why if you check your dungeon leaderboards during certain weeks, especially ones like this, you might see that people have, like, nearly 400 KOs already. Nearly 250 KOs already. Hello, Requiem, by the way. But, like, for us that haven't gemmed the dungeon yet, we're sitting, like, just over or just under 100. Whereas you could see that other people will start gemming runs and they'll go crazy with the amount that they gem, because they just want the reward dragons. Is the breeding blitz worth it? Usually not. Usually not. Usually breeding blitz events are just used to make you waste your relics and any other extra things that you have, like whether it's relics, gems, because they only have them for a short time, so then you feel enticed to waste all your resources, and usually they're not worth it. Great or Mass Blessing. If it's your first Divine, always Mass Blessing. If it's your second Divine, 99% of the time you'll be taking Mass Blessing still. The reason being that, like, the dungeon runs that you just saw me doing, I wouldn't have been able to get as many KOs in that if both of my dragons didn't have Mass Blessing, because it just makes it so much easier. You put the Mass Blessing down, and it hits your entire team, so they all get buffed. I know that the Great Blessing buff is stronger, but it doesn't affect your entire team. So then you'd have to be blessing pretty much every single turn, and you don't really have the opportunity to do that in the dungeon. So that is why pretty much always Mass Blessing is going to be the better option. I guess we'll do arena fights now, because why not? Because we've pretty much gone through all of the ancient event stuff now, at least that we can really do for now. That is outside of boss challenge that we'll keep coming back to every now and then. But just keep logging in for those resets. Make sure you're grinding out that dungeon. Hello, Daffa. You get 400 stepping stones every dungeon reset. That's not going to be enough. 400 is very, very low. Now, maybe you're just someone that has never really worried about a dungeon team or anything like that before, in which case, you know, I'm not blaming you or anything. You know, some people just have never really worried about the dungeon or don't really understand how it works, and that's fine. But these events, these major events, are very, very reliant on you doing well with the dungeon. So, wait, have I been shadowed? No! We're fine. I didn't realize I'd been frightened. That caught me off guard. That's what I get for reading chat, I guess. You don't have a single divine. Which element should you keep? If you don't have a single divine, then getting an ancient from this event would be really, really good for you. So I think if you go for either Pokra, if you can, or Oira, if that's doable, then they'll probably help you, because at least they've got water and or fire and or earth, right? That, or you go for Fovan, and also try and go for Venchu. When am I going to shiny hunt again? I don't know. I don't know. Legends Arceus came out and it was like, I didn't really want to do shiny hunting in Legends Arceus. And I just kind of stopped playing the Diamond Pearl remakes because they didn't add the WGS or whatever it is, the trading center. So I just lost interest, because the main thing I used to like in Pokemon games was all the trading. And they just keep removing all of the trading features in game. And it annoys me. Do I have Oya? I do not. I do not have Oya. No, I didn't get the first sets of Exception Divine Ancients because my life at the time was not a life that worked around the Ancient event schedules. So, like, I could not log in during every weekend. It was just not something that was doable for me. Which meant that missing out on, like, a day to a day and a half of resets every single week, you won't get the board Ancient like that. You cannot afford to miss that many resets if you want to succeed in the game. And obviously, because I play on Windows, I just don't have any option. Like, I can't log in remotely. So that's why I was never able to get any of those early ones. Now I can, for the most part. Like, if they ever rerun Oya Bahajir, they will definitely be major pickups that I'll be looking to get. Will it ever happen? Maybe. Maybe. It's like, Glom's not been very useful and he never will be. Frosky's not very useful and never will be for me. But Enroja, I do have Enroja. And then if Bahajir is useful. Bahajir is very useful. Best dragon in this event does depend on the elements that you actually need. Technically speaking, based on stats alone, the best dragon by far is Venchu, because remember, he is an Ancient Divine Exception dragon, so he has really, really high stats, like the same as Enroja, the same as Bahajir. He has the same stats, it's just instead of water or earth, he has wind. He's the best dragon to get in the game. Technically, well, on par. However, if you can't really fit this dragon into your team, and plus with it being an exception dragon, if you don't have other exceptions, you can cause problems in the dungeon. If you don't think you're going to have a good chance of going for Venchu, then your best options are either probably, depending on your team, going to be either Fovan, or they're going to be... That's not where I wanted to go. They're either going to be Fovan, Pokra, Oira, or Lozra. Although Lozra does have Shadow, which is kind of iffy, but most of the time with Lozra you'd just be using Light plus Ancient. But Pokra's got 3 very useful elements, and Fovan does have Fire still, so either of those dragons could still be very useful for you. Is there a glitch to get 100 pieces of Fovan? No, and even if there was, I would not be telling you because I kind of like my channel not getting shut down. Did I add the Whaley Poo sticker? No, we can't fit any more emojis. Is Oya the best Ancient Divine Dragon in the game? In terms of usefulness in the dungeon for attacking, yes. In terms of overall, some people would argue Bahajir or Enroja are better. Anyway, let's open some more chests, because why not? Let's go! More chests. Is it better to focus on leveling up dragons or to enchant dragons? Because enchantment is so difficult these days. Oh, we got Piece of Earth Spirit. That's nice. I forgot that we could get him. But no, since we've got a lot of problems with collecting enchantment materials these days because of the arena, normally it's better to just level up dragons. Like, you can enchant dragons if you just want some bonus level ups, but enchantment just means levels anyway, because each enchantment star just means two levels, so they mean the exact same thing. And it looks like we're not going to get anything above a 5-drop. Wow, our opening luck has been pretty mediocre this time. The last couple of events, I think we got at least 1 big drop in our first 50, but I guess not this time, right? Not this time. But it looks like we're already at 85 holy talismans, which, you know, that's like a sixth of the way towards Pokra. So, I say like six because it's not exact, but we'll get there. We'll get Pokra probably, but I don't know. I might even end up just saving up to 1500 and then making a choice of who to go for. Because if there's a realistic chance of us getting Venchu, I could just skip over Pokra. But Pokra looks so... Pokra's nearly done. Like, there are less than 200 pieces left. It would be such a shame to miss out on Pokra again. I don't know. Not fully decided yet. And just like I said before, until you are fully decided on which dragon you're going to purchase, just don't. Until you are 100% certain that you want a specific dragon, don't waste any of your holy talismans. You don't have to spend them straight away. Just keep them. Just keep them. Don't waste them. Very smart people just keep hold of their holy talismans instead of wasting them and then crying later on. Why Helmi and Nulvind is lower health and damage, weaker than Divine? Well, what are you talking about? What Divine? Are you talking about, like, Hathor? Or, like, what are you talking about? 70 holy talismans for now. You know, it's fine. But, of course, you'll need to be doing more dungeon grinding, collecting more tickets from that boss challenge event. Every single place that you can get bonus tickets from, do it. You're gonna need every single chest open. Like, 1500 holy talismans per dragon is much more difficult than it is during Divine Fest. So they obviously think that ancient dragons are, I guess, stronger than divines, which... I guess technically they are, but, you know, Wonder Acceptance makes Divine so good in a team. So, I kind of disagree. I think Divine is more important for a team than Ancient is. And I know a lot of people would agree with me. But having both in a team is obviously better than only having one. So, for now, we will keep dungeon grinding. We will keep boss challenge grinding. We will keep Dragon Board grinding. Oh, should I go for a refresh on this purple? I kind of want to hit a 2. Let's see how many rerolls this is going to take before we get like a 2 or a 1. There we go. Finally. See, we want to avoid rerolling as much as we possibly can, because things like that can happen where you could just be rerolling and rerolling and rerolling forever. You don't really want that. But if we want to get those special bonuses, we would be landing on the yellow tiles. For those, what they called? Those horns. Those silver horns! So if we open this yellow, for example, we get a singular silver horn. So there's so much good stuff in that silver horn shop, but I just don't know, realistically, if it's going to be worth it for most people. I said I wasn't going to waste my event currency earlier, but this is it. And there we go. I open my second chest, we get 1 Divine Extraordinary, which is fantastic, and we also got 5 pieces for Fovan. So when you ask how many actual chests is it going to take to get Fovan or how much currency, it's going to be completely dependent on what your drops look like. So for Fovan you could get a huge drop and that could help you out massively, or you could spend the entire event only getting like ×5 or ×1 drops, which would make it probably more likely that you'll only get Fovan from the guaranteed 220 chests. So there's just no way to really predict accurately how much currency for you it's going to cost. It's going to be different for everyone. But, you know, that's the way of the game. Lots of RNG in DML. Always has been. Always will be. It is what it is. So we just got to live with it. Either that or you stop playing. But, I mean, that's up to you to make that decision. If you enjoy the game still, you do you. But that is all of this Origin of Wind event stuff. That's all the introduction tips and stuff in general that I think are important to take note of during this event. If the talismans aren't spent during this first week, will they disappear? No. No, they will not. If you are looking to spend your talismans are never going to disappear. The only thing that's going to disappear from this shop is the fact that Pokra is going to technically disappear and instead Lozra is going to come inside. But, yeah, that sounded weird. But anyway, make sure you at least spend your holy talismans before the end of 28 days are up. But before Like, you can see the time remaining for the whole event is 27 days, 22 hours, right? So as long as you spend them before that ending, you'll be fine. You just happen to reroll forever and lost like 500 windstones. Well, that's why you want to avoid rerolling as much as possible, because every time you reroll, and it's not a free reroll, and you don't get what you want, you're basically just throwing away your currency. So that's why you want to minimize the amount of rerolling you're doing, and pretty much only reroll when you want to get a guaranteed purple chest. That's the only time it's worth rerolling in this event, to be honest. Unless you've given up on every ancient and you just want to go for every single yellow tile, but I don't know how much of a good idea that would be. So I speak Urdu? No. It's going to take 22 days to get one dragon if you get 21 pieces a day. Well, that's a big if. That's the thing, if you get 21 pieces a day, that's a big if. 307 pieces of Pokra already? Yes, that's because I already had pieces of Pokra before. So anyone that was involved in the previous event with Pokra, you're going to have an advantage in this event to get that dragon. But if you just want to go for Venchu, then if anything, Pokra is kind of going to ruin your chances, because then you're going to be going for like 3 dragons, right? What is my goal for this event? I will keep collecting holy talismans for now, and then make a decision on probably a little bit later on as to whether I just want to outright buy Pokra, or if I really want to go out my way to try and go for Venchu. Because if you go for Pokra, then it's going to ruin your chance of getting Venchu, because you need to get both Helmi and you need to get Nulvind, which are the other 2 altar dragons. So if you purchase the pieces for Pokra, it's going to make those 2 more difficult to get, because you'll have to collect more holy talismans to get Venchu. So I think I will play this event essentially by ear, see what happens in sort of the first 2 weeks, and then we will make a decision later on as to whether we're going to either purchase Pokra or if we're going to full on go for Venchu. So all things considered, Venchu isn't really going to be useful for me. He is the major reward dragon, which is the reason why, you know, it's like, ooh, I must collect it, but all things considered, he's not actually that important for me. Pokra is a good dragon. Again, Pokra can be useful, yes, if I wanted to make a second team. Because if you remember, I used to have 2 teams of dragons, essentially, but after the level increase happened, I only have my main 3 now. Whereas I used to have my main 3, and then Joko, Sani, and Andy. But if I did want to make a second level 115 team, then, you know, I could make a team with Pokra in it, I could make a team with, like, Emroja in it, I could make a team with other dragons in it. So, it's something that I need to decide when I get more food, basically. A lot more food. Okay. Abhishek, there's no need to be like that in the chat. I'm not gonna allow your comments to go through. Maybe don't act so horribly to people for no reason. You quit the game for some days when you heard that there's an event, you only gathered 100 gems because you lost preparation. That is what's going to happen if you only come back to the event when there's an event actually on and you haven't done any preparation. You're going to be at a severe disadvantage, which is why I always say get prepared, collect all the extra things that you can, make sure your team's an even level, because otherwise when it comes to the event actually being out, you're going to be on the back foot. And you can't really afford to not be prepared, even from week 1 of this event. You need to be pretty much constantly doing everything you can every single day, every single week of this event. Otherwise, you're probably not going to see great success. Just the way that it is if you're a free-to-play or very low-spending player. If you spend lots of money and don't care, then you can get everything you want because you're just, you know, there's no skill involved, it's just spending money. That's just how it is. You know, people could just add 10,000 gems to their account and just buy everything that they want, basically. But if you're someone that doesn't want to have to pay pig and waste all of their money for very little benefit, there are ways to do it, but you will have to give up some of your valuable time to do so. Is Pokra a good first ancient? It is. If you got Pokra, then it would be a question of can you also get Oira, for example. But then at that point, you don't want to use both Ancients in your team because you can't really fit 2 Ancients into a team, so then you'd have to decide, would you rather use Pokra or Oira, or Thovan or Oira if you got both of those instead? Because it's better to have 2 Divines and 1 Ancient than it is to have 2 Ancients and 1 Divine, because otherwise your Divine just won't be able to do anything in the dungeon. Because if you only have 1 Divine, in certain dungeon rotations, your Divine will just be blessing every turn. If it's like a plant dungeon or a shadow dungeon, and you don't want that. Ever. That's why it's just more consistent to have 2 Divines instead of 2 Ancients, so yeah, you'll have to see what you get. And then go from there, and then add any Divines that are useful and work with the team from that point. Yeah, Helmi's not a useful Ancient. Unfortunately for these Altar Divines, Helmi and Nulvind are pretty bad compared to other options. Like, Helmi looks cute, Nulvind looks nice, but in terms of actual gameplay, if you want to improve your team, I wouldn't recommend either of those. Pokra, however, does have those useful elements. They should add trading. Yeah, they've had that thrown at them for like 7 years now. They haven't done it, they'll probably never do it. Like, I don't want to get your hopes up, but we're probably never ever gonna see trading in this game. It'll shut down before then. Okay, Abshiek, I warned you. I'm just going to put you in timeout. Next time you're just being horrible, I'm gonna have to ban you. You're trying to get Pokra and Oira, but you think I should put Pokra as your first Ancient? I think because Pokra does have 3 useful elements, it's better on average than just Oira, and you could use like an epic water dragon in the meantime. If you have a water divine dragon, like say you managed to pick up just a random water divine from a different event, then you could get really good use out of that divine plus Pokra, but it really does come down to what you've managed to collect already, what you can turn into an actual, you know, good team. Because it's going to be different for everyone. Like, not everyone's going to have Pulverles, right? Not everyone would have collected Fundiju, for example. Not everyone's going to have collected Bahajir and Emroja. So you can't just say, yeah, just use Bahajir, because not everyone's going to have that dragon. So it completely depends on what you've already managed to collect in the past. So just make your decisions based off of that. Try and collect Pokra and Thovan and or Oira, depending on what would be best for your team, and see how you do through the event. Hopefully you get more than 1 dragon. If you only get 1 dragon, at least try and make it a useful one, right? Ibad, you shouldn't be telling people how old you are. I'm also going to time you out. But anyway, that is all the stuff related to Origin of Wind. If you do want to rewatch this VOD and see anything that I've already said, feel free to. But main thing in terms of success is about coming back for every reset, doing the Dragon Board event, doing every single dungeon dungeon reset that you can, and the boss challenge event at the moment. Those are the 3 main things. Dungeon, board, boss challenge. Obviously you've got all the other stuff in game, but in terms of the actual event itself, doing well in all 3 of these will get you more tickets, which is very, very important for getting all those altar dragons, and also for getting the board dragons. So, I guess if anyone has any more questions, you can hit everyone up in the Discord server after the stream is done. But I am going to skedaddle, now that I've been through everything that's important. Again, if you need any tips with any particular tasks, feel free to let me know, but the breeding quest, just breed war dragons or tree dragons. Either of those will always give you those points. But doing all of these 7 quests every single reset is imperative to victory. You've got 87 talismans, it's fine for now. You're going to have to keep up the pace. Keep up the pace, in fact, maybe even earn some more in some particular dungeon weeks, you never know. You're smelling the live stream? Ew, that's disgusting. But anyway, I'm going to say sayonara. I appreciate all of you joining me here today. And again, I do wish you the best. I hope you get big Thovan drops. I hope that you get many Holy Talisman drops. And all the other possible big drops that you can get. I know, there's so many chests and openings in this game that sometimes it's difficult to keep track. But if you want to get all the main dragons, you can't miss one set and spend 350 gems. No, that completely depends on how much you're earning yourself. Depends on the person, depends on how much they're earning, depends on what their drop luck is like, depends on a lot of different factors. So it's going to be different for everyone based on how their luck is, but all things considered for the board ancient, at least he's guaranteed after 220 chests, right? But anywho skis, best of luck, and I do hope that I will see you soon.